say his name. Jermaine Reed, say his name. Jermaine Reed, say his name. Jermaine Reed, won't you say his name? Philip White, say his name. Philip White, say his name. Philip White, say his name. Philip White, won't you say his name? Say his name. 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 Eric Garner. Say his name. Eric Garner. Say his name. Eric Garner, won't you say his name? Trayvon Martin. Say his name. Trayvon Martin. Say his name. Trayvon Martin. Say his name. Trayvon Martin, won't you say his name? Sean Bell. Say his name. Sean Bell. Say his name. Sean Bell. Say his name. Sean Bell, won't you say his name? Say his name. 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 Won't you say his name?
Freddie Gray, say his name. Freddie Gray, say his name. Freddie Gray, say his name. Freddie Gray, won't you say his name? Ayanna Jones, say her name. Ayanna Jones, say her name. Ayanna Jones, say her name. Ayanna Jones, won't you say her name? Sandra Bland, say her name. Sandra Bland, say her name. Sandra Bland, say her name. Sandra Bland, won't you say her name? Say her name. 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 Won't you say her name?
Kimani Gray, say his name. Kimani Gray, say his name. Kimani Gray, say his name. Kimani Gray, won't you say his name? John Crawford, say his name. John Crawford, say his name. John Crawford, say his name. John Crawford, won't you say his name? Michael Brown, say his name. Michael Brown, say his name. Michael Brown, say his name. Michael Brown, won't you say his name? Say his name. 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 Won't you say his name?
Miriam Carey, say her name. 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 Sharonda Singleton, say her name. Sharonda Singleton, say her name. Sharonda Singleton, say her name. Say her name. Say her name. Emmett Till, say his name. Emmett Till, say his name. Emmett Till, say his name. Emmett Till, want to say his name. 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 Want to say his name.
Tommy Yancey, say his name. Tommy Yancey, say his name. Tommy Yancey, say his name. Tommy Yancey, say his name. Jordan Baker, say his name. Jordan Baker, say his name. Jordan Baker, say his name. Say his name, won't you say his name? I'ma do y'all say his name. I'ma do the y'all say his name. I'ma do the y'all say his name. I'ma do the y'all say his name. 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 Won't you say his name?
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Spoken Word. I'm your host, Bishop Talbert Swan, the second. And as usual, we'll be telling it like it is with cultural idioms and nuances that shape the order, ethos, and chaos of the African-American experience. Words have their own vitality. They shape their own consciousness and create their own context for interpreting social and spiritual reality. The spoken word contains the power to reshape the landscape of society. I want to thank each and every one of you who are tuned in 5 minutes past the hour of 9 a.m. And I want to ask every one of you on every one of our platforms to do me a favor. I need you to like. I need you to share. I need you to comment. I need you to start a watch party. Let folk know the bishop is on the air. On the air. On the Facebook side, I believe it won't even be next week because my Facebook suspension goes through my radio program next week. So I won't be able to do it until after 10 o'clock. But that'll be the last time I will not be on, at least on my personal page, even though my public page was unpublished. I'll be able to do it on my personal page. So tell somebody who's looking for me where I am broadcasting from. Of course, you catch me on YouTube, Periscope, all that other kind of stuff. Do me a favor, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're chiming in from. So much to talk about today. The White House is a coronavirus hotspot. These are the folks that are supposed to be protecting you. This is the dude who gave himself and his administration an A+. Okay? An A+ for his handling of the pandemic. And he got it from a super spreader event at the White House where nobody's wearing a mask. Nobody's social distancing. But this is the administration that's supposed to be protecting America from the deadliest pandemic since a century ago, since the Spanish flu. And if they take it so willy-nilly, if they are so careless with their own lives, you know they don't care about yours. Okay? So we're going to talk about this coronavirus and the crazy stuff that has happened even over the weekend while Trump has been at Walter Reed Hospital. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about some local things happening here in the city of Springfield. Mayor Sarno firing Darryl Moss, reprehensible. Talk a little bit about that. And I've got Senator Eric Lesser will be coming on. He will be coming on half past the hour, giving me my State House update. And then I've got First Lady Swan coming on, and she's going to be giving me, giving us an update in terms of the activities of the women in the NAACP. They've been working diligently around election and census. So stay with us. We'll be right back. Don't you dare touch that dial. Don't go nowhere. Like, share, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you're coming in from. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere.
Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie, why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, Be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, it's an indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by success. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree. In every tree there is a forest. Who and what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was a setup. Your purpose and potential is bigger than your past pain or problem.
Another talk dedicated to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you. Another talk dedicated to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about sacrifice. You got to give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward. But accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it.
Ferris Hill,
So don't be too smart.
Daddy Talk. Always got some good wisdom. Love that song. Always giving us some good wisdom with that. 413-337-1867. Welcome to everybody on all platforms. Good to have you as always. Do me a favor once again. I see some of y'all are repping your city, repping your towns. Let me see who we had in here. Who was trying to rep up in here. Kim Ware, I see you. Good morning, Pretty Brown. Good morning to you. You mean, see you. Brother Stokes, see you. Troy Hill, my high school classmate, see you. Stephanie Johnson, good morning. One of my faithful members at Springer, Marvin Anderson, good morning. Jamie Serrano, good morning. Juanita Beeman, I see Atlanta in the house. Chicago, I see Goochland, Virginia. That's where you from, Kim? Goochland, Virginia. Of course, I got Springfield in the house. The Shy, cousin Lisa, always in the house. Joe Manet, I see you in the house. 413-337-1867. Listen, explain to me, y'all, how 46 minus 1 is going to protect America from coronavirus when he still is not taking it seriously, even though he has it. Think about that just for a moment. He has the Rona. He has the Rona. And he's still not taking the Rona seriously. Now, that's some stuff right there. That's some craziness right there. That my man got the Rona and he's still not taking it. What do you mean, Bishop? Well, in the middle of an aggressive course of treatment, because he's getting remdesivir, he's getting all kinds of stuff, putting him on oxygen stuff. He leaves the hospital with his security detail yesterday so he could ride in an SUV past supporters that were cheering for him and 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 um and they clap. I mean, that's what's going on. That's the craziness. Got to figure out get that sound out. That's the craziness of what's happening with this dude. He is literally under treatment, and he decides that what's important right now is a photo op. Yeah, I mean, who does that? I'm being treated for symptoms for a deadly virus that could kill me, seeing as though I have it. I'm 74 years old, obese, high cholesterol, all of the factors that make this thing difficult. But what's important right now is I get some affirmation of how great I am by riding in the SUV and waving to my adoring fans. That's what's in the mind of a narcissist. This is the dude that if you elect him again on November 3rd, is going to be at the helm trying to lead America through the remainder of this pandemic. 210,000 have already died on his watch. He doesn't care about his own life. Obviously doesn't care about the life of his security detail because he put them completely at risk. I mean, he waves to his supporters through the windows while wearing a mask. Hey, dude, you already got corona. Wearing a mask now is like putting a condom on once your woman is already in the maternity ward. I mean, come on, man. I mean, he's trying to show strength. But once again, it displays his questionable judgment, his willingness to endanger his staff, and the fact that he still doesn't seem to comprehend the seriousness of a highly contagious and deadly disease is absolutely astounding. It's absolutely astounding. Even his doctors finally decided that they were going to stop being so clandestine and stop lying to the people. And they provided some concerning details about his condition to reporters. They talked about 2 times where he had alarming drops in his oxygen level. But, he wanted a photo op. I mean, he got mad with the chief of staff for telling reporters about his troubling vital signs, because he wants to project this "I'm strong" image. Dude, you're sick in more ways than one. You're physically sick, and you're sick up in here. All right. Now this is not ironic, but this is the real slap in the face to the White House. An attending physician at Walter Reed Hospital harshly criticized the drive-by as a risk to the lives of Secret Service agents who accompanied him in the SUV. And he put it out there in the public. Okay. He tweeted it out there in the public. Dr. James Phillips, you can go check it out. He's an attending physician at Walter Reed Hospital, and he let him have it. Okay. He let him have it in more ways than one. I mean, he let him have it. He says this. Let me look it up. I want to get it right. I want to get the right wording, because dude just, he let him have it for real, as he should have, because it's reprehensible what he did. So this is what Dr. Phillips had to say about Trump deciding that it's important for me, to be out here messing around in this SUV while I got the Rona. He says every single person in the vehicle during that completely unnecessary presidential drive-by just now has to be quarantined for 14 days, okay? Has to be quarantined for 14 days. They might get sick. They may die for political theater. Commanded by Trump to put their lives at risk for theater. This is insanity. This is what the doctor tweeted. This is what Dr. Phillips had to say about Trump's antics, putting these people at risk just so he could wave to his supporters. Then he goes on to say, and I quote, that presidential SUV is not only bulletproof, but hermetically sealed against chemical attack. The risk of COVID-19 transmission inside is as high as it gets outside of medical procedures. The irresponsibility is astounding. My thoughts are with the Secret Service forced to play. This is what a Walter Reed Hospital attending physician had to say about Trump putting the Secret Service at risk so he could do a drive-by and wave to people while he's at his most contagious state with COVID-19. Good morning, Marion. Good morning, Falba Smith. Good morning, Ayanna Crawford. Good morning to all of you all who are tuning in. But this is what's up. This is the dude who says he gets an A+ for how he's handled the pandemic. So they literally had a super spreader event at the White House. Literally. I mean, you look at the video, they're all over each other, hugging and talking in each other's face. Nobody has a mask on. About a dozen people have all caught the Rona. Chris Christie, Kellyanne Conway, couple senators, White House staff workers. I mean, it's spreading like mustard. Crazy. And we're supposed to trust them to protect us. 413-337-1867. Here locally, our friend, our brother, Daryl Moss, on Thursday last week, was terminated from the employment of Mayor Dominic Sarno as his Director of Constituent Services, supposedly because of a Facebook post that violated the social media policy. A policy that does not have any progressive discipline, no written warnings, no suspensions. I mean, straight to termination. Mr. Moss explained the meaning of his post, which in my estimation did not violate any such policy. It is alleged that the mayor has done or authorized or knew about the investigation by police, supposedly a non-criminal investigation into Mr. Moss, into attorney Tashina Davis, our black city clerk. And we don't know if there's been investigations into other black employees or black residents. Maybe they're doing investigations into me and some of you who are on the ground doing social activism. We don't know. It's not beyond the pale in an America where they had the counterintelligence program of the FBI under J. Edgar Hoover, COINTELPRO, where they spied on Malcolm X and Martin Luther King and the Black Panthers and the Nation of Islam and so many other individuals and organizations to destabilize and to try to discredit them. The Trump administration has their own version of COINTELPRO. They've identified a category called Black Identity Extremist. They took off the table destabilizing and doing anything about white supremacist groups like the Proud Boys, who Trump told to stand back and stand by, you know, like the KKK and like other white supremacist terrorist organizations, and decided that the danger in America is Black identity extremists, Black Lives Matter activists, people fighting injustice, fighting against the extrajudicial murder of Black people by police. They are the dangerous ones. Even though Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, has said over and over again that the biggest terrorist threat in America are white supremacists. So they're spying on Black folk. And if we've got that problem in City Hall here in Springfield, that's something we need to do something about. So I don't want you, brothers and sisters here locally, to go to sleep. Now that the deed is done, we've gone back to our regular routine, our regular lives. Don't forget, and it's bigger than Moss. Although he is our brother, he's our friend, he's been working in this community for decades. And so we want to support him, unequivocally support him. But we also want to deal with this rogue administration. That while they're firing people like Daryl Moss, they're trying to bring back on the police force rogue police officers who are under criminal indictment. Think of the irony of that. We're going to fire Moss over a social media post, but we're going to bring back on the police force 5 police officers who lie on police reports so that it can cover up the crime of other police officers assaulting Black men. Arsenio Hall used to say things that make you go, If you have a criminal record, you can't become a police officer. How come you can remain a police officer if you get a record while on the job? I need to know that, City of Springfield. I need to know why Richard LaBelle was convicted of reckless endangerment in a motor vehicle incident in which he killed 2 children. Yeah, killed 2 children. He was acquitted of vehicular homicide, but he was convicted. Reckless endangerment on probation for 2 years for killing 2 kids. Not only that, he was suspended for a road rage incident in which he pulled out a gun on someone in the parking lot of Walmart. Then he violated the social media policy, but he got a 1-day suspension, not fired. He's still on the police force with all of that on his record. Officer Marrero, who I'm proud to say, yes, I leaked the video of him assaulting a student. Yes, I did it. I'm assaulting a student at Commerce, and he just got convicted. Why is he still on the police force? Why is it going before the complaint review board instead of him immediately being suspended? But y'all firing Daryl Moss? Good morning, caller.
Good morning, Bishop. How are you, sir?
I'm good.
I just wanted to express to your listening audience and the community at large, I had stated earlier, this has been like a 40-year history with the Springfield Police Department, along with the judicial system, where they have totally abused Black and brown people. But more importantly, when it comes to Mayor Sarno, let us remember how he has been given accommodations in our community from different organizations. He has come to cookouts. He has came to the community and talked about how he went to school with people like Timmy Gobble. And this community really, really took him aboard and really helped him. I remember when he ran for mayor, Black and brown people were holding up signs for him in the community, and we really accepted him in, and we voted for him. And since Donald Trump has been in office, this mayor really has been insensitive and tone deaf our community.
And he has been a cheerleader for Trump and tried to mimic many of the things Trump has done. When Trump said, I'm going to move funding from sanctuary cities, Mayor Sarno said Springfield will not be a sanctuary city. Matter of fact, he went and had his code enforcement inspect a church because they were providing shelter for a refugee. That's how insidious he's gotten with it. He sent a letter to the federal government asking them to stop resettling Somalian refugees here in the city of Springfield. When there was some critique and some criticism of Trump on other issues, he decided he wanted to invite Trump to the city of Springfield. When Trump said black athletes shouldn't take a knee for the anthem, Sarno comes out publicly that they shouldn't take a knee for the anthem. When Trump and his ilk said all lives matter, Dominic Sarno said all lives matter. So it's like every single thing that this guy does, Dom, although he's supposed to be a Democrat, walks in lockstep with the policies and the ideology of Donald Trump, which is why the late Jafet Robles called him Baby Trump, because it seems like everything Trump does, he's trying to rubber stamp here in the city of Springfield.
Yes, and he has absolutely been abusive towards us. And I think, like you said, it's beyond Darren Walls, but it's also, you had John Delaney, you had Greer, you had Latta, you had Lieutenant Kelly. This is a history of this. You had Matthew Ryan, Francis Boone, Terry Dunphy. All of these people really had a tight grip on black and brown people. So, and I want to ask you a question, and I'm going to hang up.
Yeah.
What do you think that we should do about those people in our community who are in positions of influence, but they refuse to help us in our need? What should be our strategy in dealing with that, if you would like to respond? And thank you, sir.
All right, thank you. I think we need to call them out. Especially those who have arrived in their place of influence based on the support of the community. When a community helps you to rise and then you forget about that community, you ought to be called out, you ought to be shamed, and you ought to be held accountable. 413-337-1867. It is now 33 minutes past the hour. I want to bring on our illustrious state senator, Eric Lesser, who is going to give us our State House update. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Bishop. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you just fine. How you feeling?
Good. Yeah, just recovering from the news, the weekend. It's nothing to talk about. No news, right? Very slow morning.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. I hope you guys aren't holding super spreader events up at the State House.
Well, you can rest assured we've been we authorize remote sessions. Unlike the U.S. Senate, we authorized remote sessions months and months and months ago, and we've stayed in session. We're doing work, we're casting votes, but we are keeping people safe. It's possible to do both at the same time. So, never thought I would see the day that the White House Rose Garden turned into a biohazard site, but here we are.
It's crazy. It's and just I was just talking about one of the attending physicians at the Walter Reed Hospital, Dr. James Phillips, who was very bold in a couple of tweets he sent out, really criticizing Trump deciding he's going to do a drive-by to wave at his adoring fans and putting those Secret Service workers at risk in a big way. Matter of fact, I mean, he said because the vehicle is hermetically sealed against chemical attack, that riding there with the windows up, that the risk of COVID-19 transmission inside that SUV was as high as it gets.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, just absolutely crazy.
I mean, it was, frankly, it was a kind of jarring image. I saw it on Twitter, and I think the New York Times website has it up, and, it's obviously all over the world now, but the agents literally had gowns on. They were dressed as if they were in, emergency room physicians, or as if they were working in a COVID ward, because they were driving a car that was sealed with a known, and not only does he known to have COVID, he's symptomatic. So he's shedding the virus
at his most contagious state.
Yeah. It's just, I just continue to be shocked. It's like, I thought that our nerves had been frayed by this point, but no, every day we get something new.
It's like every time you think that there's no depth lower than this that this guy or this White House or this administration can go. This is the absolute rock bottom. They can't get any lower than this, and they prove us wrong every time, and they tell us every single time, hey, we can go even lower than that.
And meanwhile, it's just not a joke. Like, the country is really in trouble. And, I don't know if you saw, there was some commentary that they thought apparently the Asian markets were opening around the time he took the drive, and they were opening the stock futures trading for Wall Street around the time he took that drive. And so they were saying that he timed it to, juice the market, because there had been a dip after his diagnosis on Friday. And you're just asking yourself, what kind of country is this? It's like, instead of driving around in a van and endangering Secret Service agents, just focus on getting better. How about having the doctors actually sharing the actual facts of what's happening as a way to create confidence, not pulling stunts? It's just, you're right. It's just, but it's as low as you can really imagine. And then every day it gets lower. So I just hope it motivates people. I just hope it motivates people.
Administration, and so everything is set up for reality TV. So it's all about theater.
Right.
That's crazy. So what's happening at the State House?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So we have a lot going on at the State House, bringing it back to local, enough national politics. But here in the States. So there's a big meeting actually happening on Wednesday, virtual. But the Senate and House Ways and Means Committees are meeting jointly to do an updated economic forecast for the state. So back in April and again in May, there were analyses done. We brought in economists, budget experts to give us kind of a prognosis, both of what the state's economy was looking like, but also, very importantly, what the budget impact was going to be for the state in terms of tax revenue. So this is going to be a very highly anticipated hearing, because we're going to get updated numbers from this on Wednesday and updated estimates. There is some cautiously good news, which is that our August tax revenue was actually not worst case. It was actually slightly above where a lot of the estimates were. Of course, that is good news, because that means that there is not hopefully going to be the same type of cuts that the worst prognosis and the worst estimates were claiming. But again, it's really very dependent on the virus numbers. It's dependent on the economy being able to continue to heal safely. And so there's a lot of question marks there. So we're going to get some answers, at least on the economic front, on Wednesday. And then a deadline that people should be aware of is October 31 is when our temporary budget expires. So we're going to have a choice to make this month in the next few weeks about whether we do a budget for the rest of the fiscal year, which ends in July, or whether we continue this sort of step-by-step, month-by-month approach. And it's a big decision, because there's still a lot of uncertainty. We don't know what's going to happen potentially with a second wave in the winter. Unfortunately, the numbers have not been good the last couple days and really weeks. The numbers are ticking up, not in a rocket ship number like they were in the spring, but they are ticking up in Massachusetts. So there's still a lot of question marks, and we're going to have to decide whether we continue with this month by month approach to the budget, or whether we kind of try to make our best estimates and do the budget for the rest of the fiscal year. So that's big, and it's got big implications because that's where, of course, the school money comes from. That's where the PVTA funding comes from. That's where the healthcare, mass health funding comes from. So that's really going to be the big focus this week.
Gotcha. Well, this is the time that we live in. I often think about what those who lived during the 1918 pandemic must have went through, and I've done a lot of reading on it, how they were sheltering in place and wearing masks, and of course it was a whole different dynamic because you had Jim Crow segregation and that type of racism that was going on. So a lot of Black people weren't getting proper treatment. They couldn't go to certain hospitals because of segregation, et cetera, and I wonder sometimes what is going to be written about us, in terms of how we handled this moment in time. And whether we were good stewards of the resources and the technology and the scientific information that we had, or did we squander a moment and unnecessary people had to die and things had to happen that could have been readily avoided based on the knowledge and information that we have in this moment. It's one thing when you go back to 1918 and say, well, they didn't have A, B, and C.
Right.
And they had it, many more lives would have been saved. But I'm concerned that they'll write about us and say they did have these resources available to them, and they squandered them anyhow. And that kind of saddens me.
Yeah, it's a really haunting thing to think about, honestly, because you think about America. There's a feeling that, like, at least at the beginning of the 20th century in the 1918 pandemic, there was America did still have, with all of the issues, and they were very significant, there was at least, I think, a feeling maybe of optimism in the country, in the sense that there was we look back on it now, but that there was a path of improvement. And now it really feels like America is in decline. It really does feel that way. And I think it really begs very important questions that in the most powerful, wealthiest country on earth, the country that, supposedly is breaking down barriers of science, of technology, that we have the highest number of deaths in the entire world, and that those deaths are disproportionately being felt in Black and brown communities, and in the African American community in particular. And this is 100 years more after 1918. It's interesting that you brought up, like, the history. There's a really good, I'll send it to you, Bishop, and maybe we can post it or something, but there's an interesting article that the Smithsonian Magazine just put out about Woodrow Wilson in the 1918 pandemic. Obviously a figure that we've come to learn and appreciate. It was very flawed, putting it mildly, but there has been a lot of controversy around this, but a lot of historians have now concluded that he did get the 1918 flu, and he was at the Versailles conference to end World War I, and they were basically lying about the condition he was in Versailles. And fascinating, but I saw there were some pieces in the article where they actually took news articles from the day-to-day of his treatment, and the articles were almost uncanny. White House announces the president is on his feet. White House announces the president is resuming a schedule. White House announces that the president is doing, his work and is receiving papers, like almost word for word.
Yeah, same stuff that's happening now. Wow, that's amazing.
And I just hope that I hope the country can begin to heal with this election. I refuse to accept that we can't, because I just think that's too defeating of a feeling, and I just do hope that that in the next few weeks and soon enough in November we can begin a process of healing the country and moving forward.
Absolutely. Senator, why don't you give them your contact information, let them know how to get in touch with you and how to connect with your office.
Yeah, and by the way, just quick shout out about the census. I know you and I were together on Saturday with Senator Markey. But yeah, we've got to stay focused on the census. Thank you for all your work on that, and First Lady Swan, and of course we've got to keep the focus on the post office too, because there's urgent issues there with mail-in voting. So if people want to reach me on Twitter at Eric Lesser, on Facebook Eric Lesser MA, on Instagram Eric Lesser MA, or you can make an old-fashioned phone call, 413, of course, 526-6501. Again, 526-6501, or send me an email, eric.lesser@masenate.gov.
Always a pleasure, Senator. Thank you so much for the work
Thank
you
you.
do, and we'll take care.
Bye-bye.
All right. That was Senator Eric Lesser giving us our State House update. You can catch the senator right here on the Spoken Word every first Monday at 9:30. I think it's important that we understand what's going on in the Commonwealth. And so he comes on to kind of give us that update and let us know exactly what is happening. And since he did delve over into talking about the census and the election, that's a good segue. The women in the NAACP, under the leadership of First Lady Cynthia Swan, have been leading the charge here in the city of Springfield around the census and around voter registration and getting out the vote efforts. And so we committed to have a segment on our program up until election day, kind of highlighting those efforts and really trying to push, because listen, it's real, y'all, when we talk about this being most important election. Now, I know you hear this every 4 years, but I'm really feeling it this time. This is one of the most important elections of our generation. This really, really is going to determine a direction that our nation is going to go in for some time to come. You've got to understand the long-reaching effects of 4 years of policy, 4 years of appointing Supreme Court justices, 4 years of putting people on the federal bench, 4 years of passing laws, the long-reaching effect that it can have into the future. And so this is a very important election. The census is vitally important. 600 billion to 1.5 trillion federal dollars are determined by census data. Over 300 federal programs depend on census data to determine how they allocate their resources. Hundreds or thousands of state programs use census data to determine how they allocate their resources. So all this stuff is important. And while you're sitting in the beauty shops and the barber shops and having these conversations and blowing off stuff, listen, brothers and sisters, we got to get serious, okay? For real. So let me bring the First Lady on and continue our conversation. Good morning.
Good morning.
What's happening?
How you doing? Good
You
morning,
had
everybody.
You had long blonde hair in church yesterday.
Yep, I had a wig on.
You can't come on video during praise and worship on the live stream on Sunday with long blonde hair and then come on Monday with it all gone.
You must not know Black Girl Magic.
Okay.
Black girl can. We can do whatever we want to do with our hair.
Okay.
You don't know Black Girl Magic? You're not familiar?
I know a little bit about it. I got daughters and granddaughters.
Okay. Well, all right. So yes, I can. Yes, I can.
So, hey, y'all. She walked in church yesterday. We were setting up for the live stream and getting ready to start service. And I just glimpsed up a little bit, and I saw this long blonde hair. I'm like, who in the world is that? And then I finally realized who it was coming around the bend. So y'all be throwing people off.
So why you looking like, who is that? Why was you
Huh?
checking it out?
You were coming into church. I wanted to know
So
who you were.
so
Because you was walking in there like you was running stuff. And I was like, who
you
is this?
telling on yourself, Bishop. You telling on yourself. You
Whatever.
telling on yourself.
Whatever.
Anyway,
Whatever.
I wore a wig yesterday that was sent to me by our daughter, and she did it for me, and I wore it yesterday. And
Who,
so
who sent
Shannon,
it? Shannon did.
the stylist of the family,
Well, Crystal's the one who make wigs.
But Driscoll hasn't made one for me. Anyway, why are we talking about this? We don't have time to waste.
He hasn't made one for me either, so don't feel bad.
She hasn't made one for her mama yet. So, but why are we talking about this? We don't have time to waste. Do we not
All right,
understand?
we'll go ahead. We
the
got about 10 minutes left, 9 minutes left on WTCC 413-337. All right, go ahead. You got the floor.
Well, good morning, everybody. Let me say that again. Let me properly greet you. It's good to be back with you. It's good to be back with you, Bishop. I just wanted to reiterate what is happening with the census, as Senator Lesser said, and it was a perfect setup for me, that we do want to encourage people to continue to go to 2020census.gov and fill out the census. Now, what's very interesting is that I told you all last week how the federal judge barred the Trump administration from decreasing the or shortening the time of the extension deadline, and put it back, reinstated the October 31st deadline. However, the Trump administration is rejecting that and saying, I don't know how they can do this, but they are saying that today will be the deadline. That today will be the deadline at 8 p.m. If you have not filed your census, the Trump administration once again will do all that they can to keep people from keep us from submitting a count or to be counted in the census, and that is a problem.
This morning, former President Barack Obama, let me get his tweet, because he tweeted out there, because of the fact that the Trump administration is playing these games, even though they're under federal court order, they don't feel like they have to listen to what the federal courts, they don't feel like they have to what the Congress has to say. I mean, he really feels like he's the king of America and not the president. And so he can do what he wants to do. So Barack Obama said this. He tweeted this less than an hour ago. He said, "Don't wait. Complete the census today. From funding for education, healthcare, and infrastructure in your community to the way you're represented in government, getting counted matters. Take a minute," and he leaves the telephone number, "or visit my2020census.gov." So the former president, knowing the debauchery, the irresponsibility, and the arrogance of his successor, is encouraging us to do the census today, because you don't know what this rogue administration is going to do beyond.
Right. And just like with voter suppression, I read this article yesterday. It's actually, been some research being done for a few years now, actually, in all understanding. But at minimum, like 16 million voter names, I should say, have been purged from the rolls. So we know that at least, well, it was a huge amount of people whose ballots and votes were not considered or counted, during the last few elections. And so we know that it's a huge, it's a real attempt to keep those and other names, like at minimum it's 16 million. So you know what that kind of means across the board. If at minimum it's around 16 million, it might be double, triple, that amount that's actually being purged across the country. So, if they are spending that kind of money and time and resources, to keep us from voting, they're definitely going to do the same thing to keep us from being counted. So it's really important that we do what we can to counteract all of these attacks up on Black and brown people being counted, Black and brown people participating in the political process, Black and brown, marginalized, disenfranchised people, from, basically exercising our rights and our power.
Absolutely. 413-337-1867. Somebody was trying to sneak a call in.
Okay.
Y'all got to be patient when you're calling, because we'll get to you as soon as we get a pause and a break in there. Tell them once again where to go in terms of the census, because we've got to log off WTCC in.
Okay, I understand.
But give them that information, and then we'll continue on with our streaming audience.
Well, first of all, I'm flattered to know that I'm basically regurgitating the same information that our president is stating, President Obama.
So
but
let me sneak the caller in real quick while we got some time. Still on the radio. Good morning, caller.
Hello, how you doing, people?
I'm good. How you?
Good. If you call known from Mississippi, I'm from Mississippi.
Hey!
How much I appreciate you and what you and your wife are doing, man.
All right.
And I wish hopefully, man, that I can get, maybe we can get you and her both to do a virtual for our NAPP here, because you all on top of current events. And what I like about you all and you and your wife, you all don't talk over one another. You all can make good points about civic, with civic obligations and civic education.
Yes, sir. We're doing the best we can.
It would be nice if the coach put you and your wife on giving some of the ministers some civic education. Because I'm serious, man, and I was raised up in the coach and the CLG. Man, you got ignorant Pentecostal preachers, man.
I can't say that I disagree with you on that. I can't say that.
But it's everywhere, though, bro. It's everywhere in Mississippi. It's everywhere.
A couple of these ignorant bishops that be around you, I'm praying for anointing rub off on.
Ooh.
Because they've been influenced. A couple of coaches been influenced by this right-wing theology that's wrapped up in white nationalism.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Mm-hmm.
All right, listen, brother. I love hearing you and your wife, man. I'm gonna hang up and listen. All right.
Y'all on top of y'all game.
All right. Thank you, brother. Appreciate you. Mississippi folk in the house.
Yes.
All right. 413-337-1867. Listen, WTCC, my listening audience here in the Pioneer Valley. You catch me every Monday at 9 a.m. If you're looking for a place to worship, check us out at the Spring of Hope Church of God in Christ, 35 Alden Street, Springfield, Massachusetts, every Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Our virtual Bible study is Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. It's always a pleasure to be with you, WTCC. I'll be back in the studio soon. Can't tell you when, but we're headed toward that direction. But until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you and so do I. Streaming audience, hold tight. We'll be right back.
Say his name. 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 Eric Garner, 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 won't you say his name? Trayvon Martin, say his name. Trayvon Martin, say his name. Trayvon Martin, say his name. Trayvon Martin, won't you say his name? Sean Bell, say his name. Sean Bell, say his name. Sean Bell, say his name. Sean Bell, won't you say his name? Say his name. 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 Won't you say his name?
All right. We're back with the extended edition of the spoken word, which we've been doing during COVID. What'd you say?
I need a green screen. Like you.
You need a green room?
Well,
you need a green room.
A green screen.
Okay.
So I can look like I'm on CNN too.
Huh?
So I can look like I'm on CNN.
Oh, okay. Well, you got the real living room backdrop.
The real one.
Right.
This is actually the real.
Mm-hmm. Y'all like my television network setup here. This is Talbert Swan live on CNN, the Calvary News Network. All right. Anyway.
Okay.
Hey, I had to throw something in there.
Okay.
The TNN, Talbert News Network. How about that? Talking about beauty.
I hope Mississippi is still out there. He's good for my self-esteem.
Who's that?
Mississippi. Mississippi. I hope Mississippi is still out there. Mississippi.
He's still listening. He's still listening. 413-337-1867. If you want to get in on any of the things we've been talking about the spread of the COVID, the White House being a COVID hotspot. 46-1 putting Secret Service at risk so he could ride in an SUV and wave at people. And then the folks who came to the hospital to hold vigil are all out there with no mask and no social distancing. I mean, how ironic is that? They're out there with no mask and no social distancing to support a president who caught COVID because of not wearing masks and not social distancing. It's like what is going on in these people's heads? I mean,
I don't know. I really don't want to waste too much time talking about the ignorance of the whole thing.
I mean, we have,
but this is proof, bitch. Yeah, this is proof though that I believe earlier in the season when he was saying and people was believing it. Oh, why are you wearing a mask? And then you had these Karens and these Clarks going into stores. It's against my civil rights. I don't have to wear a mask to come into this store. All of that stupid stuff that was going on. But the doctors and the experts and the scientists and people like us with common sense, we were like, no, you're not going to come into this store. I'm in here in this store and everybody got a mask on. You're going to wear a mask too. So like the public started to, reject these people, certainly, and telling them to push back on their stupidity. But I'm more concerned about those innocent people like Joe Biden and his staff and his wife, and his family who, whoever had traveled to the debate with him, them. I'm concerned about the innocent people, being exposed to this virus and having to go through testing and waiting to see.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's my point. All of them who were at that super spreader event, who went home, who went to a restaurant,
I'm talking about the debate.
Well, I know the debate, but also those who were at that super spreader event, all of them went their separate ways to various communities and stuff, and there's no telling who they exposed. And then a report came out that said the White House does not have or has not provided any clarity on its contact tracing. So they don't even know if they are alerting those who may have been exposed at the string of events and gatherings that they need to get checked out, or their loved ones or those around them need to get checked out, because that's, I mean, you know how we do when we go into a restaurant. Sometimes they'll take our name and our telephone number, etc. That's about contact tracing. That if
that's
there's
right. That's
outbreak,
right.
and they can trace it.
That's about being responsible.
Right. If they can trace it to October 1st, and they know we were in the restaurant on October 2nd, then we're going to get a call to say, hey, you know what? There's an outbreak that we have, traced to a time when you were in the restaurant. You need to go get checked out. The White House doesn't even have that in place.
And this is the White House. I don't know what kind of house it is. It's the Orange House. It is not the White House right now. So, but anyway, I mean, that kind of stuff is the reason why there's such an urgency, y'all, for us to come together and for us to do what we need to do to not only vote, but lift up our voices and use our political prowess, if you will, to bring about a change in not only our cities, but throughout, this nation. It's ridiculous what's going on. Now, I knew I didn't vote for Trump. I never even thought about Trump. As a matter of fact, I'm just coming out of my depression from him being elected.
That was the most depressed. What was amazing is how 4 years can make a difference. I remember in 2008, as usual, we normally would have our international holy convocation around the time of the presidential election. So I would always be, away at the convocation.
We were always away.
And in 2008, we hadn't yet gone to St. Louis. We were still having convocation in Memphis. And I remember being in service that night and then being in my room in Memphis when it was announced that Barack Obama was the presumptive president-elect. And I just remember the feeling of being a part of history with the first black man elected. I remember one of the pundits on one of the news shows saying, "This is it. There's no more racism. We've arrived at the promised land." I did a message based off that and said we're living in a promised moment, that people pushed it too far, saying we had made it to the promised land. Have been eradicated and all of that kind of stuff. So I said, no, this is a promised moment. But fast forward, and it played out that way. Fast forward 4 years later, we had started our convocations in St. Louis in 2010. So by 2016, after Obama had served 8 years, we were in service that night, came back from service.
And our baby grew up on Obama.
And we were up late watching the results come in, and we kept seeing, oh, this state went to Trump, that state went to Trump, and we don't know what the path is for Hillary to be able to make it. And I remember being up. You decided to go to sleep. You got depressed.
Because I couldn't take it.
She couldn't take it, so she went to sleep. And I was up till at least 4 a.m, just looking at the TV like,
we couldn't believe it. Don't forget the baby called us. Don't forget the baby called us.
Really just elect this dude?
Yeah.
as president of the United States. And I mean, really, I mean, just the next morning, just the somber attitude that people had, you know, like, we can't believe what just happened. And the last 3.5 years have really played out all of our fears of what could happen in this nation under this guy. It's been absolutely horrendous. And yeah, I mean, our son, he's 13 now, but I
He
mean,
didn't really know nobody but Obama. He didn't
he
know
was,
nobody but Obama.
yeah, he was 9 or 10 years old
Mm-hmm.
when that happened, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was depressed. I mean, little
He called
kids.
us crying. Don't say he was depressed. He called
Well,
us
I'm
crying.
saying, listen,
He was upset.
people went into a depression. Black people understood, you know, what this meant. And I'm not saying that all other presidents have been perfect, and because there've been some
But
real.
I would pay to have Bush
This
back.
guy
I would
was
pay
an
Bush
open
if he could take over.
racist that just was beyond the pale. And the sad thing for me is why there's even still a debate about whether or not he can win.
Yeah, I agree.
After everything that he's done and everything he's been, the 30,000 lies he's told, all of the craziness, that there is even a chance that he could win is a sad indictment on America.
Well, that's the point, babe. I mean, that's the reality that some of us Black people, including myself, we had to wake up to, because it was like, I felt like I always knew, okay, racism exists, you know, this is my everyday, you know, discrimination, prejudice, you know, whatever, mistreatment, maltreatment, you know, the whole nine. But I always said this: it's more good than bad. Yeah, we got that out there, but it's more good than bad. Like, they will never rise to the top, you know, the bad will never rise to the top office, you know, the top government and this and that. Like, they will never be able to push their white supremacist attitudes, you know, or whatever, to the point to where the people won't reject it. You know, the majority of people won't reject it. And I think that going through this process through the last 12 years, that, you know, it was almost like I was slapped awake. Like, I thought I was woke, but no, I was still kind of sleepy. You know, I think I was still kind of sleepy. Even as a Black woman, I think I was still kind of sleepy, but like, I'm wide awake now and can't even sleep, you know. I'm wide awake now because I think we are facing the reality of the condition of America.
Yeah, there's a commercial out, and let me see if I can find it. This commercial, y'all, is the most mind-blowing. I'm not surprised about it, but it's just, to me, it really speaks to how our people suffer, and it really speaks to the Stockholm syndrome that has gripped us, and the job that white supremacy has done on Black people.
Well, what about white people? What about the job white supremacy has done on white people?
Yeah. It is of course it is detrimental to white folks. But
you have to explain that, because white folks think they benefit from white supremacy. So you have to explain to white folks how they are not benefiting.
Well, I always put it like this: that poison does more damage to the container that is holding it than the object that is poured on. Right. And so while it definitely hurts us, they don't understand how badly that poison hurts them in terms of them carrying it around all of the time.
Mentally, emotionally, spiritually.
Yeah, I mean,
the whole nine. Yeah, absolutely.
But there's this commercial that is out there of black people who are tooting Trump's horn, who are talking about once again how great he is, and all it's black voices for Trump. And
do you want me to give the dates of these events that's coming up before you show that? Are you showing that or playing
yeah,
that?
I'm going to show. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I just wanted to let the public know about some upcoming events.
Let me see if I can pull it up, and then we'll get the date. But this, I mean, this.
I didn't know.
Y'all got to see this. And here's my question. Here's my question to y'all. What is up? I just lost my camera. I don't know what happened. So let me put it on the first lady. Let me let you give the dates, and then let me let you give the dates, and then we can
okay, because
yeah, I'm gonna let you give the dates, and then I'll come back. Let me get my camera back live, so it'll be
you're showing the video, babe. I see the video.
I know what I'm doing, girl. Go ahead and talk about the dates.
Well, no, I didn't know if you wanted me to give the dates or you want to show the video.
I want you to get the dates first. So I can fix my technical difficulty here.
All right. So within the NAACP, we have a few scheduled events throughout the month of October. We're less than a month away, 30 days away from the national election taking place on November 3rd. So we have a few things that help, get us prepared, help excite us. I oftentimes have said, especially when I started this work a few months ago, I oftentimes have noticed that cities like ours in Springfield, we don't have a registration problem. We have over 100,000 voters with like 156,000 people that live here in our city. So we have over 100,000 registered voters, eligible voters on the rolls. But we don't have people that go to the polls and actually vote. This last election, 27% of voters came to the polls, and that was an increase by 20%. But nevertheless, that was like a 73% shortfall. So with that being said, we are really, 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 really working on the inspiration behind voting. And as a Black woman, I'm inspired from birth, about voting. It's a mandate. It's something I didn't have to be taught, but I was, thank God, and I've always been inspired, to participate in the process, because I've always known that it was bloodshed, that it was sacrifices made in order for me to participate. Again, as a Black woman, and not only as a Black person, because Black men had the right to vote before we did. But as a Black woman, we had to fight extra hard to get the right to vote. And now Black women have rose to the point to where we are not only the backbone, but I feel like we are the moral compass. We are the heart and the soul of the political process, and especially the Democratic Party. So with that being said, on October 17th, which is the first day of early voting here in Springfield, in Massachusetts, I'm sorry. October 17th, we will have what I'm calling, or what we are calling, the women in the NAACP, the Drive for the Win Caravan. The Drive for the Win Caravan. And what we will be doing is at 9 a.m., we will be meeting in the parking lot of Eastfield Mall. We will have prayer, and we will have a pep rally, and then we will leave in parade form to drive down to City Hall and cast our ballots, or either cast our vote on that day. October 17th. So what I'm asking the community to do, we're going to make it a little bit of fun. But what I'm asking the community to do, you don't have to decorate your car, but we are going to give out a unity trophy to those who do decorate their car. We have politicians coming. We have the political leaders coming, of course. We have sororities coming, fraternities coming. We have businesses participating. We have I just want the whole community to get involved and to come out and to load up your car with registered, ready voters so that we can drive down together as a community and we can light up, we can turn up early voting here in Springfield. So it's going to be October 17th. Again, we're meeting at the Eastfield Mall parking lot at 9 a.m. on October 17th, and we're going to do a voting caravan. I feel like the spirit had told me to call it a drive-by voting as opposed to a drive-by shooting. We're going to be shooting up those ballots. That's what we're going to be doing, Bishop. We're going to be shooting up those ballots. So October 17th, we're going to do a drive-by voting and we're going to start at 9 a.m. We're going to meet in the parking lot, and we're going to drive down in caravan form. All right.
And we're all,
if you want more information about that, because I haven't put the flyers out, but they should be out soon. If you want more information about that, you can certainly connect with me on my Facebook page at Cynthia Davis Swan. Cynthia Davis Swan, Springfield, Massachusetts. And I will send you out the information about that caravan. Did you have any questions about that, Bishop? Because I got a couple more announcements.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Then on October 18th and October 25th. October 18th. I can't hear you.
I said souls to the polls.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But October 18th and October 25th, we will be doing our vote and tote. Vote and tote. So what vote and tote is, it's actually soul food dinners. So we're calling them Black Lives Matter dinners. So the menu will be made up of the names of some of our lost sons and daughters who have been killed unjustly, by police officers. So we will have like the Breonna Taylor Southern Fried Chicken. But the menu and everything will be displayed later, Bishop. But nevertheless, the vote in tow, the way that's going to work is if you go during the early voting on that Sunday or during that week, and you bring us back a sticker that said, I voted, because they give you a sticker when you vote or when you cast your vote. They give you a sticker. Or you can just, call us and let us know. The first 25 voters get a free soul food dinner. A free soul food dinner.
Free,
right?
y'all. Free. Y'all know what that means, right?
The first 25 get a free soul food dinner. But for those of you who don't make it in that first 25, you can still get a Black Lives Matter soul food dinner on that day for the nice price of $8.46. So we're paying homage to the death of Mr. George Floyd. So the dinner itself will be $8 and the lemonade or iced tea will be 46 cents.
And I'm sure you all know, just in case you don't know, that's the amount of time that the police officer had his knee on George Floyd's neck for 8 minutes and 46 seconds.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bishop, for clarifying that. So that's on the 18th and the 25th. So that's the Black Lives Matter vote and tote. Vote and tote.
And that coincides with our souls to the polls for the various churches. We're encouraging you all to get your members to go down to early vote after your services on that Sunday, whether your services are virtual or in person, to get your people to go down to the polls on those 2 Sundays, get those souls to the polls, and cast the ballot. And then after you get those souls to the polls, you get your voting sticker and you come on up. And if you're one of the first 25, you get that free dinner. Otherwise, $8.46.
Yes, yeah. But it's been a challenge that I posed to our pastor friends and first ladies, and some of the churches have signed on to be with us on October 17th. I'm really excited about churches repping, their vans or their cars, to participate in the contest. Like I said, best car, best display, best decorated display will receive what we're calling the Unity Trophy. The Unity Trophy. And like I said, this is to unify us, to bring us together as a community. Some people, in which actually this is a good idea I forgot to mention about the October 17th event. One of the ladies in WIN suggested that if that some people can, just kind of stand on the street, of course, using all the protocols that are in place to keep us safe with this COVID virus and everything, the pandemic, because we're still under that umbrella. But socially distanced, but just kind of stand on the side of Boston Road, State Street when we leave at 10 a.m., to just kind of cheer us on, cheer the voters on. Let your children see that. Let your children see that. I think it would be a good time to let children see that the community comes together and we collectively
Get
vote.
them involved early on, and when they're old enough to vote, they'll remember those experiences.
Right.
And
you got to
stay
train them.
involved.
Right. You got to
Caller,
train them
you're on the
anyway.
air. Good morning, caller.
I hate the word.
That's all right.
How you doing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Bishop, we get in Mississippi, we got a chance to elect our first black senator since Reconstruction.
All right.
And it's just 1 point lead. And if you would, I know you know a whole lot of people. If you would, I would appreciate if you could encourage some of the Kojic pastors, particularly in Mississippi, to encourage their people to go out and vote.
Absolutely. We're spearheading a national voter initiative on behalf of the presiding bishop called Kojic Counts, and we've been doing a whole lot of stuff and working with people across the country, and we'd be happy to have some conversations with some of the leaders in Mississippi to really push them out to the forefront. Yeah.
And let me ask you this, Bishop. How did you get in contact with you and your wife and possibly doing a virtual with someone in ACP?
You can definitely give me a call at my church, and that's 413-733-1032. 413-733-1032. And we'd be happy. We'd be happy to do it.
Okay, I definitely would appreciate it, man. I'm gonna get back in contact with you.
All right, bro. Appreciate you.
I'm loving Mississippi. But Bishop, I got a couple more announcements, but then I got some questions for you that I think is relevant to this conversation today. Thank you, Mississippi. I need to say that. Thank you, Mississippi, because I think it's vitally important that we kind of bring down or help to break down some of those barriers or walls that exist with saints getting involved in politics.
All right.
But nevertheless, on October 21st and October 29th, October 21st, a forum is being held at Indian Orchard Citizen Council. Zeta Govan is in charge, and she has asked Wynn to be co-host of a forum that will be done on October 21st. We will be placing that flyer out starting today. So nevertheless, look out for that information, and that forum It will entail it will entail uh, somewhat of a debate, question and answer, if you will, with State Representative Chip Harrison and Jack Oliveira. And then we also will hear from the two candidates that are running for the family probate, registry of probate. I'm sorry, registry of probate. And then we'll also be tackling those two questions that are on the ballot, which I think is really important that we get a better understanding of what's being asked for the public to vote on, yes or no, concerning rank voting system, converting to a rank voting system. I think in certain elections, not all elections, but in certain elections, and then also information. I forget what it's called. For some reason, it's slipping me, but it got to do with car information being shared. Oh, right to repair. That's what it's called. Right to repair. So those are two questions that are on the ballot, and it's really important that the community knows, get the information so that they can make a conscious decision about whether or not they want to say yes or no to that. And then on the 29th, women in NAACP will be hosting another forum, or the NAACP, I'm sorry, with the women of the NAACP will be hosting its last forum before the national election, November 3rd. But let me say this about November 3rd. We don't want to wait till November 3rd. We do not want to wait until November 3rd to be trying to vote. We want to vote early. It's never been more important to vote early than this time. This time is very important to vote early. Get those ballots in early. And I'm saying I don't even trust the post office right now. So drop those ballots off. Drop those ballots off. Or go down to City Hall or whatever space you can go and early vote. I think that's important, Bishop. But Bishop, I got a couple of questions. Do you have a caller?
Let me play this video I wanted to play.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I forgot.
And you can ask your questions in our wrap up, because I've got some national stuff I've got to get done before a board meeting, and so we've got to sign off shortly. But let me get this. Let me show y'all this video, because I just think y'all need to see it, because it is what it is. It's crazy. That's all I can say. Let's see.
This president deserves the support of the Black community because he's earned it.
There is a silent majority of us that see you, see what you're doing, see what you did for HBCU schools. That was actually the deal for us.
I wager to say that there is no American president since Lincoln that has had the impact for Black America that President Trump has had.
Joe Biden supported the crime bill in '94.
He has imprisoned Black America, basically.
Trump supported the NAACP and Black youth like myself in '87.
He's a businessman. He's bringing businesses back into America.
Bringing jobs back to America. Bringing the truth, and he's stopping needless wars.
My day is going to be amazing. I'm never going to forget the day. This day is historic.
In 2016, I made you a solemn pledge. I would be your greatest champion. In the first 3 years, we achieved the lowest Black unemployment rate in history. We achieved the largest job gains for African Americans on record. The poverty rate for African Americans reached the lowest level ever recorded. I did more for the Black community in 47 months than Joe Biden did in 47 years.
We cannot deny that man has done everything that he has set out to do in record-breaking time. Can we say 3 years? Can we say 3 years?
We will create 3 million new jobs for the Black community.
Okay, I can't take no more. Let me get that.
Well, you the one who played it.
Yeah, I can't take no more.
Yeah, but you played it.
I can't take no more. Listen, everything And when I say everything they said in that video was a lie. Everything they said in that video was a lie. And let me just debunk a couple of them real quick. Lowest black unemployment. Black unemployment when Barack Obama took office during the greatest recession since the Great Depression that came about under the Bush administration. You all remember that, 2009. I mean, the housing market was crashing. They had to save the auto industry, all that stuff. Black unemployment was 16.8%. 16.8. By the time Obama left office, black unemployment was 6.5%. It dropped under Trump to 5.5%, along the same trajectory it had been going for 8 years under Obama. It dropped 1% under Trump, 1%. And now it's up to 15% again. So he did not cause the lowest black unemployment. That's a lie. When you talk about HBCUs had been being funded under Obama's administration. It was a funding package that expired. Okay? All Trump did was sign into law a bipartisan bill led by the Democrats to reauthorize this funding package for another 10 years. Okay, about $255 million a year in funding, of which only $85 million goes to HBCUs. So this whole notion that he saved HBCUs, he funded HBCUs, it's another lie. It's smoke and mirrors. You know, it's crazy talk. And these black folk jump on these talking points and say crazy, ignorant stuff that he's done more for black people than any president since Abraham Lincoln. What the heck are y'all talking about? I mean, are you sick? This is the guy who calls black women dogs, black athletes sons of bees, says black people are inherently lazy, calls black nations S-hole nations. I mean, it's mind-boggling that you could get a bunch of black folk in a video to say some of the crazy stuff those people said. I mean, our ancestors are turning over in their graves. Like, where in the world did these sycophantic Negroes come from who will make a video saying this nonsensical gibberish? But I guess, you know, hopscotching and buck dancing for Trump is in vogue right now. I don't know what the Uncle Tom industry is going to do when Trump is out of office, you know, because their hustle is going to be over. I mean, it's going to be completely over with. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's my little rant on that crazy video. Babe, go ahead and give me your final couple of points that we need to give, and then we got to transition out.
No, I had a couple of questions for you, but that's okay. I just wanted to bring up the fact that I know that a large part of the reason why people don't have the inspiration to vote is because of stuff like you just showed, and then because they don't have what they consider enough information, right? Enough information in education, I should say, about the process and what their vote can do or help to do, right? So with that being said, I think it's really important that we take these next few weeks, because we don't have a lot of time left before it's gonna, you know, America is gonna show us who we really are. You know, we're gonna show the world who we really are in this next election. And so with that being said, I think it's also important to stress the strategy of Black women. And the reason why I'm focusing on Black women is because Black women are the most consistent voting bloc in this country. And the only reason why black men are not is because you had 13% of black men that voted for Trump, you know, in 2016, where black women were around 90, I think it was 96%, you know, something like that. But we've always pretty much, you know, hit that 90 something mark, you know, as far as like voting collectively and voting together. Because we understand there's power in our togetherness, if you will. And so it's not only important for us to be inspired to go to the polls this election cycle, you know, and vote Trump out of office. It's also important, and Bishop, I want you to speak to this, give your perspective on this. It's also important that we vote down ballot, if you will. And the reason why is because we need to maintain the House. And, you know, and even if we can strengthen the House, you know, if it's possible to strengthen the House, then strengthen the House. But we definitely need to maintain the House. But we also need to flip the Senate. It's really important. I think it's probably more important to flip the Senate than to get rid of Trump, you know. But, you know, they both are equally important, especially to the black community. But we need to flip the Senate. And in my opinion, it's a strategy. And I think, you know, black women are thinking like me. It's a strategy because Democrats are not perfect, but Republicans show nothing off the mark. Okay. You know, Republicans show nothing off the mark. And with that being said, it's not that we're trying to choose a perfect politician or whatever, because they don't exist. And I personally hate politics. But like I said, you know, it's a part of life, and it's part of what we need to do and participate in order for to create more judicial, just systems, you know, or whatever to live in. So with that being said, we need to maintain the House. We need to flip the Senate. And like I said, I believe that black women are thinking like me, so that we can start to turn the country in a direction to, you know, ultimately get to the point to where we can destroy some of these systems, you know, that are working like they were supposed to work, and renew and rebuild. And certainly one of the most important things for me is to, you know, create the kind of government that recognizes, acknowledges, and also implements a black agenda.
All right. So I'm going to leave it at that. I mean, of course, it's important that we consider all of the offices. And I really want to encourage y'all to, I mean, we know the names on the national scale. Know who your local school committee folks are, and your local city councilors, and board of aldermen, and your governor's counselors, and your district attorneys. And, you know, all of those are vitally important. They affect you at the local level, at the quality of life level where you live. And so you need to be mindful of that. And while we vote, you know, and come out every 4 years, you need to be coming out to every election, especially because all politics are local. We got to get out your way. We're going to leave you with this this video here, which is encouraging you all to vote. Say goodbye to the people, babe. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, everybody. I hope you got some kind of information or inspiration today. That's my hope. That's my desire, is to provide information and inspiration. God bless you.
All right. Remember, vote on November 3rd. Until the next time I talk to you, we talk to you. Always remember, God loves you, and so do we. There's an important election coming up. Rep, how important is this election?
Freedom of speech, freedom of the right to assemble, the right to bear arms. None of that takes place until you have the right to vote.
Yeah, why I got a chance to be next up?
do it together. We can't do this alone.
My vote will dictate the quality of my life, not only my life, but for future generations to come.
What a system I live in oppress us.
It's a severity in our community when people don't do what is necessary to make sure that our voices are heard.
We've got 150,000 residents, 100,000 registered voters, but on there's an important election coming up. Rep, how important is this election?
Freedom of speech, freedom of the right to assemble, the right to bear arms. None of that takes place until you have the right to vote.
Yeah, why I gotta change to be next up?
We gotta do it together. We can't do this alone.
My vote will dictate the quality of my life, not only my life, but for future generations to come.
What a system I live in oppress us.
It's a severity in our community when people don't do what is necessary to make sure that our voices are heard.
We've got 150,000 residents, 100,000 registered voters, but unfortunately we have not been coming out.
And that means you should be willing to get up and go out and vote.
Say his name. Jermaine Reed.